Welcome back. Voters in 4 states will swarm the polls today in Texas, Ohio, Vermont, and Rhode Island. And the outcome could determine who wins the Democratic presidential nomination. With 370 delegates at stake, Senator Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have been crisscrossing the nation, speaking on a wide range of issues. But judging by a new poll of mainly Democratic voters in Ohio, whomever voters believe has the best plan for the economy may not be the big winner. That's right, may not be the big winner. Joining us to discuss the findings is David Paleologos. He is the director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center. Welcome, David.
Welcome. Good morning. Thank you.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. I find some of these measures pretty shocking. Let's just start out very boilerplate. What are Ohio demographics saying about the candidates and how they'll carry in the state today?
Well, the lines are clearly drawn. Barack Obama's base is clearly younger voters, men, independents, and African-American voters of all ages. On the other side, Hillary Clinton's core base is white voters, women, and core Democratic supporters, especially women.
You know, it's interesting. I noticed that in terms of the participation that you had, I guess, or the pool of people who participated in this polling, the vast majority were older men, particularly older white men. So explain to me right now, even though the latest poll does in fact show that Senator Clinton is in the lead, your polling results actually suggest that they do not think she will be the next president. Explain that one.
Well, where the rubber hits the road is you've got conflicting demographics. On the one hand, you've got Obama carrying men. On the other hand, you've got Hillary Clinton carrying women. The match here is older men and older white men. And right now, that demographic favors Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama, and that may be the difference in this race.
So in essence, what they're suggesting is, in your polling, is that those older white men would vote for Senator Hillary Clinton, but when you ask them if you thought who you thought the Democratic nominee for president would be, they tilted towards Senator Barack Obama. So does that suggest good turnout for her today? What can you read into that?
Well, perception usually drives reality, and we ask this question on polls because the textbook says that people will make their decisions in the ballot box based on the perception. But unfortunately, this year you can throw the textbook out the window. We've seen so many twists and turns, and we've seen so many shifts of the pendulum. You know, there are many more to come, it appears.
You know, the thing that fascinated me the most is about the independent candidate, Ralph Nader. We just interviewed him last week, and you suggest he could get a pretty huge slice, in my mind, of the Ohio votes in November. Tell us about that.
That's absolutely correct. If you look at the general election finals in Ohio over the last couple of election cycles, you know that every single percentage point counts. And in this poll, we asked the question of Democratic voters what their intensity was for Ralph Nader. A, are they voting for him? B, if their Democratic choice doesn't win, would they vote for him? Or C, would they not vote for him under any circumstance? And what we found is up to 13% of likely Democratic voters in today's primary are saying that they either will vote for him in November or that they may if their choice doesn't get the nomination.
Yeah, those are just, to me, as shocking numbers. Now, listen, economic issues...
Especially among younger voters, because younger voters were the highest demographic that indicated that they may switch to Nader, and that could be problematic for Democrats.
Yeah, you know, I was really surprised by that. You know, one of the things you talk about is that the economic issues, particularly in Ohio, are the most important issues. What are those specific issues, and which candidate do they lean toward in terms of the economy?
Well, when you match up the economy as an issue with the political candidates, clearly Hillary Clinton trumps Barack Obama. That is, the detailed policies that she's articulated have traction in Ohio, and she is connecting on the issue of the economy. Ironically, she may have the economy, this failing economy, as a springboard to stage a comeback today.
You know, you mentioned some of those economic issues and this spring point. You know, one of the questions I noticed that you asked is whether or not local Ohio voters believe that the tax cuts should remain in effect. I was kind of surprised by those results. Tell me about that and about how people plan to spend those rebate checks.
Well, there are two questions. The first question about the tax cuts is, would you support the tax cuts of George Bush? And, of course, anything tied with George Bush in a poll question is going to go down in flames among Democratic voters. But the notion that Democratic voters wouldn't mind a tax increase, you can discount that, because what this survey basically said is they do not want tax increases. A majority of respondents who are Democrats are saying no more tax increases, solve the budget deficit problem without raising taxes. That's how fragile this economy is.
All right, so David, you got to tell us, read the tea leaves for us in the other states. What do you expect in terms of Vermont, Rhode Island, and Texas?
Well, you know, at Suffolk University, we also do bellwether tracking, which is separate from our statewide polling, and we have done some bellwether tracking in Rhode Island, which indicates a Clinton win. So I think she will carry Rhode Island. Obviously, I think she'll prevail in Ohio. We do not have polling in Texas or in Vermont. I think it's pretty much universally accepted that Obama will carry Vermont, and by a wide margin. In Texas, it really doesn't matter who wins because they have such a complex apportionment problem in Texas. We call it the Texas two-step because they actually have a primary and a caucus tonight after the polls close. But it doesn't really matter if Hillary Clinton wins because the delegates will probably split out evenly.
All right, David, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I do want to note for anybody who's watching that the GOP will also